Good morning, Colombia. It's Jon and Tara. Here we are. We are actually in Colombia.
Do we know which city we're in, actually?
Right now, this is La Plata.
La Plata.
La Plata, yeah.
But was that the last city? I thought that was... Oh, the last city was Inza.
Yeah.
Inza?
No, we're in La Plata.
And this is La Plata.
So we came in at Cali, C-L-I, and we are down here because we started a company with a young Colombian gentleman named Ervin, and we're going to start importing specialty and micro batch coffees. And it's been quite an adventure so far, hasn't it, Tara?
It has been an extreme adventure.
We just got here a day ago, and we are how far into the interior of Colombia?
I don't know how many miles or anything, but there's hours.
Probably
and hours.
at least 300 miles. I mean, we haven't gone that far, but we went through the mountains, and so we had all these windy roads. So let's start at the beginning. So we just moved our house.
Yeah.
So the day before we left, we had taken our last load out of our house to our new house.
And then, but the morning that we left, we still went to wrap up things like put out the garbage and grab a few more things that didn't fit in the trailer.
Okay, so we're going to sound schizophrenic here. Let's start with the day before. So the day before we moved, we probably had finished moving about 30,000 pounds worth of stuff, because when you're an American living in a 3-story house that's 4,500 or 4,800 square feet, you pack stuff into all the spaces. And we decided that we would do most of it ourselves. Yep. I'll tell you what, next time I'm paying somebody. I don't care if it costs 10 grand. I'm paying somebody to move all of it.
It was crazy. Well, almost 7 years at the same place, you know, you
accumulate.
You accumulate, that's
And
the
when you
word.
have a lot of space, you don't ever get rid of anything, because it's like, I'll just put that here.
Yeah, you have space for it.
There's so much stuff we found. Our garbage was so full of crap. Oh my God.
And it's such a perspective, though, having gone through that and then coming here and just like...
The minimalist lifestyle. I mean, you can't even call it that. It's just basic. A lot of the places are basic subsistence living.
Yeah, it's such a perspective shift. I mean, it's just amazing how the timing of things and how it makes you see things differently.
So, is this going to be a weight-free wellness podcast? Probably, because I'm losing weight here.
Yeah.
So we're riding on bumpy roads. We're riding on roads that are half gone on the mountains. We are...
Literally.
Right. We're probably on... We could be on National Geographic's World's Most Dangerous Roads.
Probably. Yep. And it's not a 4-wheel drive vehicle that we're in. It's a tiny...
It's a little SUV. It's a 4-door little Mitsubishi.
Kind of like an engine, but...
It's kind of like a RAV. Kind of like a RAV4 Mitsubishi.
Yeah, but like smaller.
No, they're pretty small.
Okay. Well, I've never been in one.
Maybe the ones in America are a little bigger to accommodate the people, because the people down here are a little smaller.
Yeah, they're pretty little, so little cars is fine, right? They're like the perfect size.
So we finished moving our house the day before. We're driving to the airport at 8 in the morning the next day, and we have to stop at our house again. We have to load the trunk of your car, because we took your car to leave at the airport, and we have to pull out 16 bags of garbage to the end of the driveway, and then hope that nothing tips over overnight.
And recycling, and it was supposed to rain that day.
And we're down here for 7 days, so we fly out. We get to the airport.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
So, I don't know. I think from the process of moving, I was already in a state of like, que sera, sera, whatever will be. And we get there, and we're doing the little terminal check-ins, the computers, and
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work, but it's. Anyways.
So we get in line, and we're in the wrong line. We end up in the line. We're in America. We end up in the line that is to change your flight. So we finally find a lady to assist us, and I say I couldn't get my ticket. So we go back over to the kid. We get out of line, and that's the worst thing you could ever do at the airport, right? You're in line for a half hour, then you get out of line, and then you got to go back somewhere. You get in line again for an hour or something. So she takes us over to the kiosk. We try again, it doesn't work. And she goes, okay, you have to go up and talk to that guy. And I'm like, oh, I look at the line, and I'm like, oh, no. Now I got to get in line. And then she opens one of the little cattle ways where everybody gets in line, those little fabric strap posts where you go in and out, back and forth, and she lifts it like a goddess. She lifts it. She, you can go through here, and I'm like, we're special. We're privileged. VIP treatment at the airport. Oh my gosh.
She was good. She was really good at handling situations.
Multiple people. She was working with 3 different groups. Yeah.
Yep. Without flipping out, without being demanding or anything. Yeah, she was great.
She had great experience. And then we get up to the desk, and there's a gentleman up there with flaming red hair. All of it is completely spiked. And he's on point. And he's hitting the keys, and he's going through everything. And he's like, well, your tickets are reserved, but they're not paid for. And I'm like, F what? I'm like, are you kidding me? No way. And he pulls it up. He goes, yeah, they're reserved. And he goes through it. And so then we got to pull up a bank account on the phone to see if we actually paid for it. And then we're scrolling, looking, and good thing it wasn't actually paid for, because then it would have been, we had to pay for it twice, and we would have had to apply for a refund, and then, it just would have taken an extra, a couple $1,000s out of our account before our trip and all this stuff. So he gets us through. And because of that, we're slightly delayed even longer, because our flight into... No, I'm getting ahead of myself.
We were fine going into Miami. Everything was fine.
Going into Miami, we were fine.
Yep.
So then we get...
To be continued?
Ervin's just coming out of the room. The restaurant's not open yet. This one's locked. You're going to have to go around. We're doing a little podcast. You can come over. I think it's locked. We came through the one over there. So, back to the podcast. Mm-hmm. That's our Colombian friends and our driver. Although I'm going to be driving today, which is good.
Yeah,
because the roads are just treacherous.
Literally washed away, but we'll be getting to that.
So that was the only problem we had in Minneapolis. Our tickets weren't paid for.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they were reserved.
Yeah, thankfully. And all the seats on the airplanes and stuff. Yeah, and then, so we got to Miami. We already knew it was going to be a tight time frame. Like we
had 45 minutes to get to our next flight.
Yeah.
But there was a storm. So our jet had to fly around the storm. Mm-hmm. So that took 15 minutes off our time. Uh-huh. And I had to get pesos. I had to get Colombian pesos while we're in the airport. So I'm texting my Colombian connection, and we're walking through the airport, and we're looking for a place to get currency. And we get to the currency, and we start doing the exchange, and you were like, well, I'll go to the gate. And I said, all right, I'll meet you there.
Because they were already doing announcements.
Our flight was called,
Yeah, like
and anybody that's flown, as soon as your flight is called, that's it. You got to run.
Yeah. They're like, last boarding.
So I'm exchanging just 1,000 American dollars, because the peso and the dollar are so offset in Colombia. I ended up with 2,450,000 pesos, Colombian pesos, right? So I'm a millionaire in Colombia. It's awesome. I'm walking around with all this chain, and I'm like, money everywhere, let's make it rain, that kind of stuff. And so I'm standing there, and the lady wants to, and the lady wants to count the money. And I'm like, it's already counted in batches, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's okay, I'll just take it. And
because literally they're saying, Mr. Bachland, Mr. Fernandez.
I hear my name over the loudspeaker, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, and I'm texting you, they're closing the gate. Meanwhile,
you called me twice, and I ignored your calls because I'm trying to talk to this lady.
Yeah.
And her English wasn't so good.
Oh.
So I'm like, no, don't count it. She's like, well, I have to. And I'm like, okay. And then she pulls out this paperwork I have to fill out.
Oh, no.
And then she pulls out this receipt I have to sign. And then she wants to count it again. And I'm like, no, you already counted it. I'm like, I don't care. It's only $1,000. I'm like, just give it to me.
And meanwhile, I'm at the gate.
Yes.
I ran ahead, and I didn't realize that the Skyway tram was going to be that much faster. So fortunately, I still got there in time. But I texted you. I'm like, you have to take the tram.
So I'm carrying a heavy bag. And I haven't run any distance in years.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm wearing my naked shoes. So they're flat. They have no cushion in the sole. If anybody that has naked shoes, they're so your toes can spread out, so your feet can be strong and feel the ground and all that kind of stuff. And I'm doing stuff with my hands here to show my toes spread out. and I'm like, oh no, I have to run 35 gates.
Yeah.
And this lady's trying to count the money, and I'm like, you need to give it to me. My flight, that's my name, they're calling. And the Sky Tram is right there. There's a stairs. And I totally blow by the first stairs, right? So I run like 15 gates. And I'm already shot. I'm sweating like a stuck pig. I'm shot. And I'm like, okay, tram. I got to get up on the tram. And one more thing. As I'm grabbing the money from the lady whose English isn't so good, the guy behind me starts asking me questions. And I'm answering as I'm running away. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to get my flight. Because he's like, I don't know if I can talk to this lady because her English isn't so good. You know?
And that's in Miami.
Oh, my God.
You're still in the United States at that point.
So this is just one thing at the Miami airport.
Yeah, then
I'm running. Okay, I'll tell the tram story.
Yeah.
So I'm running up the stairs. So there's 2 sets of stairs up to the tram. The escalators are full.
Yeah.
I ran stairs that are probably equivalent to this running up Machu Picchu or something. It was just, oh my God. And I'm not slowing down. I mean, I can feel it in my legs. I can literally feel it in my hips. I'm getting sore, right? This was probably a quarter mile that I had already run. And I run up the stairs and I get to the tram and the doors are closing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold the doors. You know, because I can see it's just one tram that, you know, anybody that knows a tram, there's 2 of them. They go each way.
Yeah.
And it goes down all the gates and then it comes back all the gates, right? Mm-hmm. So the doors are so close, probably 6 inches apart. I shove my hands in there like a V. I put my hands together, palm to palm, and I shove my hands in there, and I turn my hands around, and like the Hulk, I grab the doors and I open them, right? And there's a guy that works for the airport, and he's looking at me, not a smile. I'm like, hold the door. I'm like, thanks a lot. And he's just shaking his head at me. It's just like... And I'm like, hey, you know, if you're going to miss a flight, man, you got to do whatever you got to do, you know? I'm like, they just called my name like 2 times over the loudspeaker. He's just looking at me with this grumpy... I'll tell you guys what, success is made by breaking the rules. I'm just going to say it out loud. You sit down with anybody that's successful and you say, so how many rules did you follow? And they'll just hold up their finger in the circle and they'll say 0. I don't follow any rules. I do what I need to do to become successful. I'm not saying break laws. I'm just saying society's rules are wrong for success. That's all I'm saying. So
in the meantime, I'll give a snapshot of where I was at that time. How about that?
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
So I was at the gate, and you know, there has to be some kind of rule keeper. Speaking of laws and rules and so forth.
I didn't say anything about laws.
And the lady's like, we're going to close the gate. And I'm like, my husband's almost here. And well, the one lady I was first talking to was really mellow. She's just like, you know, because there's got to be a combination on the team. You have to have someone
good cop, bad
like,
cop.
Yeah. Yeah. So fortunately, I spoke with the good cop, and I learned to avoid the bad cop because you don't want to confront them, right?
Yeah, right.
And so I was like, to the good cop, you know, like, my husband's literally coming. You know, he's like running, you know, and she's like, well, where is he? I'm like, he's at gate 20 and you're at 25. You had texted me. and she's like, you know, kind of like, we have to get going, you know, but she wasn't like she wasn't hard set on.
By the way, have you ever run carrying a heavy bag and texted somebody?
No.
That was me.
Yeah,
sore and sweaty, running, carrying heavy bag, and texting.
Awesome.
Texting while running.
Well, you weren't driving, so you're okay.
Well, I do that too.
So I'm standing there, and I just feel like, so then the other lady, you know, she's the bad cop, you know, the gatekeeper, literally.
Yeah.
And she's like, we're going to close it, and then she's like calling other people's names over the loudspeaker, and you're on that list.
I know.
And I'm like, okay, she's calling other people, so we're okay. And so I'm like, just don't confront her, don't say anything, just like sit and wait. Pray that the other people will be slow too, you know. And then a guy comes running up. He's like, my wife is coming. She's running. We just came from Concourse E or whatever. And I was like, oh great, okay, good. His wife must be really far away. And then like 2 minutes later, she saunters up.
She's walking.
She has high heels on and everything. And I'm like, oh shoot, okay, we're getting closer, but I'm still remaining to the side, so like I'm not confronting this lady.
Right.
So they actually had to come to me and say,
very good.
Sorry,
Very
we
good
have to
strategy.
close the gate. And so I was just sitting mellow, praying, and like, okay.
Well, you weren't going to get on the flight without me anyway. So.
Right, and wasn't thinking about the consequences that would happen if we missed this flight or whatever, and so amazingly it worked out. It's so funny because the lady is calling these people's names and she's standing at the desk and they have to go around that blockade of a line, of a fabric line.
The fabric tape, yeah.
The fabric tape. And she's like, in Spanish, she's like, we're in Miami, so it's always Spanglish kind of stuff going on. She's like, come on, people, today. Because she's like, I can't believe why you're just slowly walking to this. She's like, come on. And I'm like, no, take your time. John's still coming. And this guy, it was so funny, the guy that flipped out that his wife was still coming, he's like getting mad at this lady. I'm like, oh, that's a good example. Like, I'm really glad that I wasn't, confronting her. She's like, and so he's all upset and stuff, and he's like, I can't believe it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, they're making a scene over there. That's taking time. Okay, come on, John. And then I see him, and I wave you down. And I'm like, yes. I like literally cheered. He's here.
Yeah.
He made it.
So I get off the tram, and I still have 15 gates to go or something. It was like 1 through 19 is where it stopped.
Oh, really?
So I'm at like, I don't know, 17 or whatever it is. And I'm running.
Our gate was D10.
Yeah, I'm running and it's crowded, so it's hard to run. And this guy passes me running, and he's dragging behind him a roller suitcase, right?
Yeah.
And he's kind of bumping people, like, excuse me, get out of my way, like that kind of. So I just tag onto him. I'm like his trailer. I get behind because he's running faster than me, so I had to speed up, which really sucked, And I'm like, now I'm gonna get on the plane. I'm gonna be sweating for the next half hour. I'm already wringing wet. I'm just like, and I'm gonna have to go to the bathroom and just wipe myself down and or change shirts or do whatever I can do. I don't even think I had a shirt with me, but I come running in and Tara's like, there he is, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I'm thanking the ladies and I'm like, oh,
And the bad cop is like, well, if we don't, we get written up. And,
yeah. You guys, we got to deal with it, she says. And I'm just like, thank you very much, and I get on the plane, sit down, and I sweat for about the next 15 minutes and drank a whole bottle of water, big bottle. It was crazy. That was leaving Miami to come to Colombia.
Yeah.
And now, why don't you pull in a little bit here, Ervin? We have Ervin, who we talked about earlier, which is why we're here. Say hello, Ervin.
Well, hello, my name is Ervin, and I am from Colombia. I met Jon and Tara about 2014.
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I always had this idea about making business, and eventually I started putting some numbers together, and I realized that there was a good opportunity in the coffee trading business. So I talked with Jon, and that's how we decided to come over to Colombia to see the farmers ourselves, to find one of the best coffees that we can find. And yeah, now we're here in Colombia. We're just sitting in front of a hotel.
Yeah.
And
by the pool,
having this conversation right now by a pool.
It's a beautiful day. All surrounding us are the Andes Mountains. So we're looking at the mountains all around our hotel. We're sitting in an open courtyard in the middle of the hotel, and we can see mountains all around us. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, we're surrounded by plants that most people have as house plants.
Yeah, all the tropical plants down here are like house plants in America.
Yeah, except for the palm trees. You don't see too many of those.
No, they're kind of big.
Yeah.
What are these called? These ones with the big fan-like leaves. Do you know?
No, those I do not know.
Okay.
But the palm trees, they say they're foxtail palms.
Something or another, yeah.
They're probably, that's probably what they are called. But
so pretty, very, very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
But absolutely amazing how they got some of this stuff here, because the routes to get here are an adventure.
So we get on the plane, and we're one of 4 white people on the plane. There's only 4 of us, and we hadn't met those people until we got into customs. So everybody's looking at us doing double takes like, what are you doing going to Colombia? That was pretty awesome. And then we fly in, and our adventure here begins. So the first day was great. We land, we get here, we go through customs, no problems, no fuss, no muss. We end up getting in the car with Ervin and Alcides, and we go over to Ervin's sister's house, and that's where we stayed the first night.
That was about midnight. We arrived, got through customs at about 11 or 10, and it was still a 2-hour drive.
Mm-hmm. Yep, which was fine.
Yeah, customs was 1 hour.
Oh, it took us an hour to get through customs? Yeah.
It took an hour to go through.
And they didn't harass us at all. We just just walked through.
It's
It's just a long line.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get to drive with Alcides back to Miriam's house, and driving in Colombia is a little different.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Even you were nervous because you've been in America for a long time, and you were in college, and you didn't drive anywhere.
That's right.
So you come back here and you get in the car with Alcides, and what did you think about that?
There is a lot of passing, people passing on curbs,
driving in the center lane.
Very, very large trailers.
Let's describe that. There's trailers down here they call trains. So for people in America, imagine a semi-truck with 4 trailers behind it.
Or more.
Or 6. Yeah, yes, they call it a train here in Colombia. And those things are so long. They're huge. I mean, you can't even imagine if that truck had to stop, it wouldn't be able to. It just plow through anything that was in front of it.
Exactly. And those are used for carrying sugar cane.
Yeah.
So they're especially heavy. It will be hard for those
they're literally
for those
a train.
trailers to stop and stop on time if somebody was to be in front of it.
Yeah,
so
you don't get in front of semis like people do in America. Down here, you don't get in front of the semis. So we get back to Miriam's at midnight. Very nice place, very comfortable. They gave their bed up to us, which was awesome. I didn't even realize that right away. And so accommodating. You have a wonderful family.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we sleep for 4.5 hours.
4.5 hours, that's right.
At that point, I wasn't even counting. I was just like, just wake me up. Don't even tell me what time it is.
I know, Tara said, don't tell me the time.
It's just better just to say it's time to wake up.
And then we have a great breakfast. So so listeners to the Weight Free Wellness podcast, I'm going to tell you something. Tara drank a coffee mug full of sugar. Dun dun dun. So there's this drink down here that they make from sugar cane, and all they do is boil it, and it must take like the glycemic index down or something, because it was a very nice drink. It was like tea. It was like a kind of a sweet tea.
That's right.
And it didn't jack us up. We didn't get all jazzed up like we had a bunch of sugar. It was very interesting. It was very caramely. Kind of like dulce de leche for those that know that. And it was really good. So why don't you describe that, Tara? How did it feel drinking a coffee mug of sugar?
Well, I think it's one of those things where, like, at first you have to like erase out of your mind that this is sugar, like
just to try it, right?
Processed sugar from the United States. That this was literally, I mean, it looked a lot like brown sugar, but it was clearly not the refined stuff. And brown sugar, as even Ervin mentioned and confirmed, with the brown sugar we get in the U.S. is usually just the refined sugar that has color and flavor added to it. You have to be really mindful about the sources you're getting. But this was like the unrefined, like truly unrefined sugar. And so you have the minerals in it and so forth, which is why you don't get the glycemic spike as much. And it's, like you said, very caramely. I guess I could kind of equate it to our maple syrup.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it's sugary, it's sweet, but there's
it was
flavor.
very watery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not quite like syrup would be, but it was watery, yeah.
And they call it agua panela, so pan water, basically, which we were trying to come up with names that would be better.
Yeah, there should be a different name for that.
Right.
What did you want to call it?
So panela is usually, some people refer to panela as a pot or something somewhere where you cook, but that's not exactly what it means in Colombia. Panela is just the name. It's just a name given to the to the way this brown sugar is made. So basically, they cook the juice of the sugar cane, and then they cook it until it becomes like
a syrup,
solid. It becomes like a syrup, and then they put it in molds, and these molds are square molds. So the reason why they call it panela is because the mold in which it is made is just a square, and so people refer to it as a panela because of that reason, not necessarily because it was cooked on a specific pot per se, or something like that. Is just a name.
Okay.
That's a good explanation.
It's just a name that people have for it, but not for a reason, for a specific reason that might imply where it was cooked or anything for that matter. So yes, it is a 100% brown sugar. It is completely raw, straight from the source. It is of course safe to drink since it's been cooking for. It usually takes about 8 to 10 hours to go from the juice to the state in which we have it, in the solid state. It is very tough. It is almost like a rock.
Yes.
So it takes effort to break it. So once you break it, just imagine a square of sugar, a big square of sugar. And you have to break it, and then after you break it, you put it into water and you boil it. So for you to have the agua panela, you will need probably just about 30 grams for every liter of water, or what would we call that in America?
A quart, usually liter and quart are pretty close.
Yeah, a quart of water.
Okay.
That's how much it takes. So it's very little. It's highly concentrated. It takes not too much to make it sweet, to make a lot of water sweet, and it is absolutely different from any brown sugar that we could find in the U.S. It is absolutely different. It has all the minerals. It has everything that the sugar cane has, and it tastes different.
Yeah.
And it is delicious.
Yeah, and everybody down here drinks it.
Everybody here drinks it. Some people prefer it with cinnamon. Some people use it, prepare it with cinnamon, and that's the choice drink in many cases over in Colombia.
Yeah, and for those who just maybe you skipping through the podcast, we are in Colombia with Ervin and Tara and myself, Jon, and we're celebrating the 4th of July here in Colombia. We'll be here over the 4th, so we're having a lot of fun. So we woke up, we had a great breakfast.
Yeah, she made fresh tangerine juice also.
Fresh tangerine juice.
We had these corn cakes.
That Ervin walked to 2 houses down and bought from a private person.
That's right.
Yeah, they were great. What else? The tamal.
Tamales de pipián. There are different kinds of tamales in the world. They are made anywhere from Mexico down to Argentina. So in Colombia, there is a specific one which is made out of potatoes, peanuts, and usually a combination of chicken or pork or beef. So the ones we had were chicken, and of course they had a variety of spices, and they are unique from the region of Popayán where we were.
So there was yucca in it too, right? Was there yucca?
No. No, it's just potatoes, peanuts.
Peanuts, and chicken.
And chicken,
Yeah.
and some spices.
That was great.
And it was kind of like mixed in it, like it was a paste. And,
Yeah.
It's
but
a paste, yes.
Yeah.
And then the pieces of chicken.
That is the difference. The region where the city where we're right now, it's called La Plata, and in here they make an even different tamal. So in here, you will have the tamal will have rice, will have potatoes, will have carrots. But it will not be a paste. You will actually find the rice in it, and the piece of meat. It will be with chicken or beef or pork. And the difference in here is that they always put a half hard-boiled egg into the tamal. So you will always
an egg, nice.
half an egg. You will always find a half an egg in it.
Yeah.
Again with the spices, and it is wrapped in plantain leaves, which gives it a very unique flavor. The plantain leaves are usually roasted before they're used to wrap the mixture of things that tamal has. And so they are wrapped, they are cooked, and then after that they are put to rest and you eat them.
And you don't eat the plantain leaf.
You don't eat the plantain leaves, you only eat the contents inside.
Yeah. Excellent breakfast. Excellent company. We laughed, we joked, we had a lot of fun. And then we got on the road. And that's the beginning of the adventure on the road. Let's see, is the restaurant open yet?
Yeah, that might be a good time to pause.
Are they-
I know I need some food to...
Told me that they are not going to open until 8, but in the town there is